In the 1980s, Kathleen Turner was one of the most popular, prolific, and daring celebrated actors in film. From her star-making debut in Lawrence Kasdan's sizzling Body Heat to Robert Zemeckis' adventure comedy Romancing the Stone, to Ken Russell's startling Crimes of Passion, to John Huston's hilarious dark comedy Prizzi's Honor, to her Oscar-nominated titular role in Francis Coppola's Peggy Sue Got Married. She dominated the decade. Turner would go on to receive 2 Tony nominations for her stage work and appear in numerous TV shows and films. She's written 2 books and has had a successful one-woman show. And this fall, she stars in 2 new indies, The Swearing Jar and The Estate. It is my pleasure to welcome Kathleen Turner on this episode of Oscar Legends.
Hello, I'm very glad to be here.
Kathleen, I've been revisiting your films this past week, and the words bold and risk-taking kept ruminating in my head, along with the fact that you never seem to repeat yourself and you take these multifaceted gray area roles. How do you go about choosing the parts you play?
Well, a lot of it, honestly, is reaction in that if I've just explored a certain kind of role, I have no desire to do it again. I mean, it's like been there, done that kind of thing, you know? So I'm automatically attracted to something that probably pretty much the opposite of what I just did. And I think that served me well.
I was wondering if you could speak to your beginnings as an actor in New York and then landing the female lead, Maddie Walker, in Body Heat.
Well, I actually had an extraordinary, wonderful beginnings in New York. I was always going to live here, where I still live and always have. But I came up, and after about 6, 7 months, I got an off Broadway play at Soho Repertory Theater. And then all of a sudden, I got a soap opera, The Doctors, after about 10 months. And then within that first year, I got a Broadway show, Gemini. So I was going to the studio, at 7 o'clock in the morning to NBC, and then I heading off at 5 to the theater. But, you can do that when you're 22.
I'm curious about this was your first time, obviously, working in film and working with Larry
Yeah.
Gaston and William Hurt. And I know that you're not method, and Hurt was a bit method. So how did that meld?
He was a bit, oh, he'd get a little upset with me at times. He was one of those actors who likes to, don't talk to him out of character. I think he liked to be called by his character's name, certainly any time close to the camera rolling. I thought all this was pretty silly. And I'm just talking away, asking Tom how his kid is, and Larry says, we're ready to shoot. And I say, all right. And so there were times when Bill would go, don't do that kind of thing. But I don't take him seriously.
Body Heat was the start of what would become a trend in more sexual explorations on screen in the 80s and 90s, like Fatal
Yeah,
Attraction, Basic Instinct. But you guys did it first.
we did. We certainly did. And I must say, there were times when it was pretty scary because we knew we were breaking ground. On the other hand, Larry and Bill and I all had a real sense that it was us against the system. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We were aware that we were taking risks. I don't think I had any idea of the power of it, the impact of it at first, because I'd never seen myself on film, you know. So when I actually watched the finished product, because Larry didn't want us to go to dailies or anything like that. Wow, that was rather surprising to me.
Well, and it must have been it was life-changing for you once it was released, correct?
Yeah, yeah. Before it was released, I was back working as a waitress, because I was broke.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I have to ask you about the Golden Globes in '82 because the Hollywood Foreign Press were later very deservedly kind to you. But what was it like to sit there and lose to Pia Zadora?
Oh, I wasn't there.
Oh, you weren't there.
No, I didn't go. I didn't go to that. Um, but I thought it was weird. I thought it was just wacky. I mean, who the hell? What was Pia Zadora? Other than evidently the wife of one of the foreign press.
Well, after Body Heat, you definitely switched gears to comedy with Carl Reiner's The Man with Two Brains. What was that experience like?
Oh, it was great fun. Steve, although he has certainly loosened up over the years since then. He was pretty uptight, and he did not appreciate, I think, the pressure to be funny, when he wasn't acting, when he wasn't on camera. So he was pretty stuffy guy.
Hmm.
But Carl, on the other hand, was an absolute dream and knew where every laugh was, knew how long to hold a beat, knew exactly, when to start talking again, when to stop. And all through his life, all through my life, Carl has came to see my work on stage everywhere. It was really sweet.
That's really nice. And that naked body in that film is not you, correct?
It is not. I did refuse to do that butt shot. Okay.
Don't blame you. Romancing the Stone, 1994, huge hit. You were Joan Wilder, and it felt like this new breed of female hero on screen. Can you speak to creating her and you're melding so well with Douglas and Danny DeVito?
Well, yeah. I mean, the three of us have over the years, my stars, we've had wonderful chemistry, I guess you could say. I think I was always a tomboy. I mean, that was my stick. It was stranger to me to try and do the sexuality and body heat than it was to do a mudslide in Mexico. That didn't bother me at all. Um, I think I walked away from that film with 7 stitches or something. But
Wow.
no, I always saw myself much more as the adventurous than as some kind of sex symbol. So that was, and it was very interesting to sort of echo my own experience in going from thinking nothing of yourself to realizing that you are an object of desire.
Hey, Romancing brought you a Golden Globe, and then you made one of my favorite of your performances, China Blue and Joanna Crane and Ken Russell's
Mm.
Crimes of Passion. This was another bold jump off the cliff
Oh, you should have
performance.
heard the screaming. I'm telling you. Honestly, it was just absurd. And people calling me up, Michael, saying, "You're going to be America's sweetheart. You can't do this," and all of it. No, I wanted to work with Russell because I consider him a genius. I did, and I do. A flawed genius, yes, but definitely a genius. And I think, even though I don't think it's a great film, I think it's some of the best work I've ever done.
Well, I agree with you, and I agree that it isn't a great film, but the scene with the dying man, oh my God.
Oh God, that's beautiful. No, that's beautiful, and that was a great controversy. That was a great argument because the writer wanted me to do that scene naked, and I said, no, the nakedness is in her taking off the wig.
Yeah.
Nobody has seen that, and anything more is distracting from that. So we had to go to Russell, and I had to convince him that that's how I believed that should be played. So, and I did.
Good. Well, you won the LA Critics Award for Best Actress, and I was a kid, but I remember reading a journalist saying that if you weren't Oscar nominated for Crimes of Passion, there was no God.
Well, there's no God there.
There's no God then, yeah.
It's Hollywood. You know what I mean?
I'm going to get to a question about that later, but in 1985, you played Irene Walker in John Huston's Preetsy's Honor, a
Yeah.
brilliant satire. This was yet another film that was breaking ground because it was about a romance between two assassins, and that was atypical for that time.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
did you find these? I mean, you seem to continuously, take on these roles that, I mean, do you look for it or is it something that just happens?
Well, I read everything, and I've always made it very, very clear to my representatives that they're not allowed to make decisions for me. That nobody gets to say, no, she wouldn't be interested in that. No. If something is sent to me, then I read it, and they have instructions to pass everything on. So I never felt I had someone, I've seen often with other actors, someone, some agent or manager or something tailoring their client's career, planning it, plotting it. That's not allowed. That's absolutely infuriates me.
Well, you're one of the few, most of them have these like wall of management around them.
Oh God, yes. No, I remember going to one of the really high-powered agency once when I was considering changing representation and listening to these guys go on and on about how they would preserve my position in the industry and protect my, and I thought they want to put me in a glass box. No way I'm doing this.
Good for you. So working with Nicholson and Houston on Preetsy's Honor, was that as much fun as it seemed?
No, not really. Um, Jack was always pushing. He was saying that, here he was working with he's an ex relationship, Angelica,
Yeah.
and a goddamn newlywed. That was me.
Mm.
And so I don't know. I enjoyed him very much, and we certainly had some good laughs. Yeah, no, it's a good piece. It's good work.
It really is, and it really stands up too. That crazy first love scene where you guys are rolling around. How didn't you get
That
hurt?
was my idea.
Was it?
That was my idea. Yes, and Jack was not pleased with me afterwards because one time we fell off the end of the bed. The camera has to pan with us as we roll. I kind of call it who's on top. I'm on top of the I'm on top. And we rolled off the edge of the bed, the foot of the bed. And Jack is on the floor going, my back, damn it. I'm like, sorry.
Oh my God. And that movie has so many lines that I still quote. The line about 3 or 4 hits a year. Well, it's not that many if you consider the size of the population.
Right.
And
That
then
was
that,
right.
yeah, and the Sicilians, they'd rather eat their children than part with money, and they're very fond of their children. And I'm Sicilian, so
Oh, okay.
a great line. You won your second consecutive Golden Globe for Best Actress in a Comedy, and the film received 3 acting Oscar nominations, but no Kathleen Turner.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, we're going to get to that later. I want to talk a little bit about now Jewel of the Nile, because that started a little bit on shaky ground. Can you tell us
Yeah,
why?
it did. Well, I had agreed to a sequel. One does. But then Michael felt that Diane, who wrote the original Romancing, was asking too much, or I'm not quite sure what the details are there. In any case, he hired two men to write this sequel, and I hated it. I just hated it. It didn't seem to me to continue the spirit of the character at all. I thought it was cheap. I thought it was misogynistic. Um, I'm sure it was cheap. Anyway, and so I said I wouldn't do it. I said that I had agreed to a sequel, but I had not agreed to lower my standards.
Mm.
And the studio went ape because they said they could never allow an actor to have that kind of precedent. So the next thing I knew, I was walking into my building. I was living on 23rd Street then. And the doorman said to me, 25 mil, huh? I said, what? And he holds up the newspaper, the Post, or, it says Turner sued for $25 million. I went, really? Nobody had bothered to tell me. Michael had not bothered to call me.
Ooh,
And yeah, I thought that was pretty tacky.
yeah.
In any case, what happened was that Michael did agree to get Diane back to supervise some of the writing, and he got another writer, I think, because I remember we had 3 scripts, and we sat on the floor in this hotel room in Fez in Morocco, and I said, "All right, I'll give you this scene if you give me that scene." And we just put the script together.
That's amazing. Well, okay, so the following year, Peggy Sue got married with Francis Coppola, an
It's gorgeous.
enchanting film.
Yes,
Uh, I'm guessing you and Coppola meshed?
it just, yeah. See, I was his first. He never had a leading lady. Do you know? He never had leading women in his films. So I don't think he really knew what the hell to do with me. But no, we did. It was just really hard because Coppola had gone way, way over schedule on One from the Heart. Was that the name of the Las
Yeah.
Vegas one?
Yep.
And so the producer had gotten him to agree that he had to come in on schedule. Evidently, he didn't say on budget. So we worked double golden time. Man, we were shooting 20 hours a day, 6 days a week, to the point where I was truly frighteningly tired, but at 23 hours, we wrapped the film an hour before it would have gone over schedule. So Francis kept his cut. He would have lost final cut,
Oh my
and
God.
nobody wanted that to happen.
Right, right. And it's a beautiful performance, and the call to your grandmother scene is in
No,
particularly heartbreaking.
well, I was for me as well, because I was thinking of what I would give to hear my father's voice one last time.
Mm.
That would have been. That's where my head was, which was right for the scene.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it touched so many people. Um, Nick Cage in that film. Yikes.
Yeah, yikes.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
So
So
finally,
many.
an Oscar nomination. Can you tell me about that experience? What that night was like for you?
Oh, it was fun. We went. You know what? I have a very very dear friend who, from the days when I was in college in Springfield, Missouri, named Tess Harper,
Ah, yes.
and she was nominated in that same year for her work in that lovely film with Robert.
Crimes of the Heart.
Yes, I think it was.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, with Bruce Beresford, I think, directed.
yeah. Anyway, so we were sitting next to each other and catching up because we hadn't seen each other in years. We've never let that much little time go since then, because we really do care for that woman so much. Talked to her last night, actually,
Oh,
and yeah, it was fun. It was fun. We both felt it looked very good, and uh, it's crazy. I mean, it's not something. The Academy Awards are not something that I necessarily ever want to do again. I've been to a couple of them, 2 or 3 of them, I guess. And really, truly, it's just a pain in the butt. You start getting dressed and made up at like 1 o'clock or something. You sit in these limos for hours and hours and hours, and you're not supposed to leave the seat if you can help it. And oh, God help me.
Well, I'm still hoping you'll be there again one day, but
Ah,
um, so 1987, you were terrific in a film called Switching Channels, but it wasn't the most rewarding experience for you, was it?
no, it was the most unhappy. And I know I took it for the wrong reasons. I took it because I was newly pregnant and I figured I wouldn't be working for a year. And they offered me a lot of money. But I had one rehearsal with Michael Caine, and he was supposed to do that role. And I thought, all right, this is going to be great. But then Michael got stuck on, I think it was Jaws 4 or something, I don't know.
Mm.
And the producer went and hired Burt Reynolds. And Burt and I simply, I've never had such a, we just couldn't get along. We were just antipathetic the whole time. It was surprising and lousy.
Didn't he say something to you like, I've never taken second billing to a woman or something like
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Ugh,
Yes, he was not your most enlightened man.
wow.
He made
Then
me cry.
I'm sorry.
He made me cry. Yeah.
Oh,
Hell with him.
yeah, exactly. In 1988, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? You voiced Jessica Rabbit, and you
Yeah, I was still very, in fact, I missed the last day of recording because I went into labor.
ah,
So I'm like at the hospital going, call the studio, tell them I'm not coming in today.
that must have brought you a whole new group of fans. I guess the teen boy market, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That same year, you reunited with Kasdan and her in, again, one of my favorite films, The
Oh,
Accidental
I love
Tourist.
it. Accidental Tourist. I love that film.
I love Sarah because she was genuine and damaged and flawed.
Yeah, she
Um,
was hurt. She was hurting, boy. Uh, there's, I can hardly, and being a new mother, the thought of having lost a child in that way, being essentially executed, right?
yeah.
Oh God, the horror was just, it was very real to me.
And there's this wonderful scene near the end of the film where I love it because you ask Macon if it was a mistake to reconcile, and I mean it was lovely because you don't see that. Usually there's a villain and there's a hero character, but
Mm,
both of you were just so gray areaed.
mm. Well, it was people, just
Yeah.
real people. Yeah.
Um,
And do
19.
not forget Ann Tyler.
Yeah.
My God. I mean, I think this is the only film she's allowed to be made from her books. And then you can't discount Kazan, boy.
Yeah. And you and her and Gina
Yeah,
Davis.
I think
Yeah.
it's yeah.
Yeah. 1989, probably my all-time favorite Kathleen Turner performance. Barbara Rose in The War of the Roses.
Oh God, yes. That was so much fun. Just being together with Michael and Danny again. That was great fun. And but we just went for it, man. No holds barred. We were like, you gonna kill me? Wait, no, I'm gonna kill you first. It was no, it just. But we did have a rule. We did have a rule because they were so tough on each other that it might have been me who suggested that we don't leave the set at night without hugging.
Hmm.
You know, make sure that it's clear that it was just a movie.
Yeah, I can imagine that gets heady, right?
Got pretty heady. Yeah.
Watching that film again a few nights ago, it not only holds up, but it felt like it was a commentary on the world today and how stubborn everyone is in their beliefs. No one wants to compromise.
Well, nobody. I'm campaigning for people to listen to each other, please.
Yeah, yeah. And that chandelier scene ending, which the studio didn't want, right?
No, they didn't want us to die. They kept saying, Turner and Douglas can't die. And I'm like, oh, yeah, we can. No, actually, Danny and Michael and I were united on that, and there wasn't much the studio could do about it.
No, that's great. And this is where, okay, so incredible performance. You were Golden Globe nominated again, and again, no Oscar love. So this is where I get to the question. Do you think the Academy members were afraid of you, afraid of your daring and your fearlessness as a woman?
Well, I think some of it has to do with the snobbishness of comedy. That they look at comedies and think of them as lesser work, which I disagree with. Again, in comedy, my God, you have to convey so much more than just emotion. You have to convey thoughts. You have to make someone think, that and have that idea strike them in as for them to laugh. So I think there was a slant against comedy being considered serious acting, as it were. And then I am an outsider. I've never moved to Los Angeles. I never wanted to. I never did the social scene there. I've wrap a film and I'd be on a plane back to New York. So I think that given the choices over the years, I can live with that.
Oh, absolutely, because your work stands for itself. While we're on that subject, as a strong female, you didn't put up with a lot of crap. You were like sort of a throwback to Betty Davis and Katharine Hepburn, but also a trailblazer in an industry that expected women to stay in their place, even in the 80s. So what made you so ballsy?
I don't know. I think my mother would have said, no, you should have seen her when she was 4. Um, it never made sense to me to pretend somehow. I can remember once I think we were playing ping pong or something. It was when we lived in Caracas and we had a table out in the garage or something. And I was beating all the boys, and mom said, you should let them win, occasionally. And I went, why? It's as simple as that. Why?
Yeah,
Why should I fake something? Never, I don't know. I can't think that way.
I think it's better that way. Yeah, good for you. And now we come to one of your most hilarious turns, and there have been many in John Waters' Serial Mom.
Yeah.
Ah,
He's still such a close friend. Um, you know, God, we laughed every single damn day. We laughed, and uh, I don't know. It was just so out there. I mean, whenever I would do my serial mom look, that those eye thing,
yeah.
I would crack myself up, and but really, we really should move on to the swearing jar and stuff soon because
Oh,
we're
absolutely. I'm getting
all
there.
right.
Yeah, yeah. No,
All
we're
right.
going to talk about those, believe me. Um, but in terms of Serial Mom, again, it was a film made like those types of movies weren't being done yet.
Oh no.
Satirizing the media and
Again,
hero worship.
again, the screams.
Yeah,
You can't work with him. He's a B director, and if you work with a B director, then you'll only get B off. I'm like, nah, get out. Really, I mean, I don't believe there's that kind of system in place. I really don't think that people going around saying, I mean, look, I have worked with a huge variety of directors. I can't see that any one will determine the future of my work.
good
And
for you.
well, it just seems very highfalutin.
I got two more films before the swearing jar. I wanted to talk a little bit about Sofia Coppola's The Virgin Suicides because Mrs.
Oh
Lisbon could not have been easy to play.
no, that was hard. That was very, very hard. Oh, it was hard. And it was very difficult working with James Wood. I did not enjoy that much. Though I did enjoy working with Sophia, and I thought, having read the book when she sent me the script, I thought she did a fine job, and so did Humanities. Uh, Eugenides? What did I say? Oh,
You said Eumenides, I think.
yeah. Because he approved it after the fact. I mean, after she had written the spec. It was really good. It's just very good.
It's a powerful
It
film.
was, but yeah, it was very hard because the fine line there was not to be that kind of cliche villain, not to have him say, "Oh well, it was the mother's fault," because she was so harsh. I mean, she was this or she was that. No, the mother was, of course, as lost as anyone else. No, I had to be very careful not to get too strong, not to be strong.
Yeah.
Oof.
Well, it's an extraordinary film. Anne Renton's The Perfect Family. For me, this is a perfect little film, and it's a look at it, religious extremism. You played her so well. I know women like that.
Yeah, yes, bless. Um, well, but it was again a very fine balance between honest belief, our true faith, I think, and the pressures and the needs of society, of the mores of the time, of the circumstances. I mean, her daughter having an affair and having a child with another woman. Uh, of course, it doesn't hurt that I happen to believe that the Catholic Church is responsible for more death and destruction than any other institution in the history of mankind. But that's another thing.
It's another thing. We'll talk about that later too, when we're done. The Swearing Jar, which came out just a few weeks ago. You play
Yeah.
Bev, a mother with a stormy relationship with her son. I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to give a
No,
certain thing
no,
away.
no, no. No, she's not a happy woman. She really she keeps referring that her marriage that he left her, but in fact he died.
Yeah.
We learn in the film, but she's just angry. She's just angry that she was left alone. Um, I think she takes the anger on the closest person, which was her son. But I want to say that Adelaide Clemens' performance
Ah,
is so lovely
yeah, I
and
agree.
so loving that that was very nice to work with her and watch her. She's going to be very, very good.
How did The Swearing Jar come to you, that particular project?
Well, actually, I think that came through a woman friend because that was another reason I remember now. It was written by a woman, produced by a woman, directed by a woman, primarily a woman's story, all of these things that I like to support.
Yeah. And I love the mother-son connection. There may be lots of conflict, but it doesn't preclude them loving each other, and that
Oh, I
was
can't.
felt. Yeah,
Yeah, no, 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 it isn't. That's very black and white,
yeah.
Nah, nothing's black and white.
And she pulls no punches. Bev pulls no punches when she calls out at the Adelaide character at later in the film. We were again not giving too much away, but there's this really, really powerful scene that
Yeah.
you have with her.
Well, God bless. I don't know. I can't we can't give away plot.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
People should just go see it because it's a
it's a
strong
lovely little
film.
film. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um, You have The Estate coming out in November, where you play a dying aunt with a slew of relations wanting your inheritance. I saw it
I
this
know it.
week.
Oh
Y-
God, did you?
I did. You dive in, you make the most of your role.
Oh, she's a terrible person. Terrible, terrible, terrible. No, I tell you, now, am I allowed to swear on this program?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because they sent me, they called me up and they said we need one line ADR, replacement dialogue, right? He said just one line isn't clear. I said, all right, how do you want me to do? He said, well, it's actually yelled from within you're in the room and you're yelling out, and we hear it from the outside. So would you do this at 6 feet, at 8 feet, at 10 feet? I said, yeah, sure. I just do it on my phone, and the line was, "Fuck you, get out of here anyway, you're a useless piece of crap," or something like that. Anyway, I'm thinking, oh my God, the people in my hallway, I hope nobody's walking by my apartment.
My God.
Mm.
Well, you are absolutely hilarious in it. I have a couple more questions for you. I have a question about your TV work. You've done a lot, but I specifically wanted to ask you about reuniting with Michael Douglas for the Kaminsky Method, how
Yeah.
that came about, because it's so much fun.
Well, Chuck and Michael called me, and I never wanted to be involved with a series because you just doing the same character over and over and over again just makes me probably want to shoot myself. But the but Michael and Chuck both said, Chuck Lorre, that um it would be the final season. We wouldn't be going on. And Chuck promised that he would write every line, that he wasn't going to pass it on to a team of, co-writers or however they do it usually. And he did. He did. He wrote every line, and you can tell the consistency, the rhythms, the choice of words. It's all, it's very, very good. And then there's just Michael and me, and we're good together.
You guys sure are. It's like watching history, watching the two of you together. I
Mhm.
want to move on to your stage work because I've actually seen you on Broadway 5 times.
Oh,
First time I witnessed you transforming Maggie, the cat, in Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. Uh, is an amazing performance. Tell me a little bit about crawling into Maggie's head.
well, that was, uh, uh, you start by reading the play and going, oh my God, look at this, 38 minutes monologue, and then you start to work on it, and oh my God, a 38-minute monologue, it's just, I had a great director. He'll help me with there. But
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank, but I know who it was. Geez.
oh, brilliant! One of the best I've ever worked with. I had Charles Sterling and I had
Yeah.
Daniel Hugh Kelly and Polly Holiday. It was a terrific cast, you know. Um, and we went out of town, boy. We did Delaware and Boston and I think there was another. And anyway, before we ever came to Broadway, more extensive, I think, than any other time I've taken a show out and brought it back in. So we were well prepared. We were ready to go.
And you redefined that part.
Well, in the Broadway production previously, he had allowed, well, Tennessee, I feel, was forced to rewrite the third act to accommodate Burl Ives. So because Burl didn't want to just be in the second act, he wanted to come back, and control the storyline.
Hmm.
But we went back to the original script, the original version, where the Big Daddy does not come back to the set. And so then the third act actually kind of falls on Big Mama. She has this extraordinary speech when it starts with, "I am not yet a widow," and you go, okay, Big Mama. Um, and that, of course, just pointed me right at Maggie. Maggie was going to be the next Big Mama. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. 1995, I saw you in Indiscretions with Eileen Atkins, a very young Jude Law. And
Yeah.
it's real interesting because I reread Vincent Canby's review, and he strangely likened you to Tallulah Bankhead, who you would go on to play. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of really, really interesting. But I thought Indiscretions, I just found that play to be dazzling. You were amazing in that.
Oh God, it was hard. That was actually, I was starting to, I was coming down with, it was starting to manifest itself, the rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
And I was in so much pain. And I thought, when I read this script, I thought, okay, look, she's in her bedroom, the first act and the third act. I'll just lie around in bed. I cannot lie around in bed. I mean, that bed turned into the trampoline, you know, and I can't do it. I just can't do it. And then, of course, those stairs, my God, I'd be sobbing by the time I got to the top of them.
Those spiral stairs. Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, damn. So I used to keep, you know, tissues and a mirror and powder up there. And when I heard a certain line of Roger Reese's, I'd clean myself up and go back down. Oh,
Wow.
hard.
Yep. Then you did The Graduate, which was a huge hit in London and here, and you had a famous nude scene too.
Hey, you know what? I was angry because I was 48 and I was being told that I was, you know, that women are no longer attractive at my age. And I thought, oh, fuck you, you know,
Yeah.
I had to do it.
Well,
And
yeah.
I had a ball. I actually had a great time.
Yeah. Doing it. I loved it. I thought you guys had such great chemistry.
Yeah, did you see it with well,
I
in
saw it
London?
with I saw it with the first guy from American Pie, but then I saw it with the second guy as well.
Yeah, they're both good, but yeah.
Yeah.
But in London I had a Matthew Reese.
Oh,
He was amazing. Yeah.
okay. Wow. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? How did you get Albee to agree to do it, first of all?
I had to get him to agree to listen to me to give a reading. And I asked Bill Irwin, you know, because I thought he would be a brilliant George. And Albee wanted Tony Page, who directed for him in England. He wanted him to keep an eye on the anyway, and so we just he agreed to let me do a reading. And at the end of the first act, when we took a break, uh, Albee came over and he said to me, "I have not heard anything like this since Uda Hagen." I said, and I didn't know what to do. I said, "Yes, and you've only heard one act." And I thought, oh, shoot yourself now, Turner. But no, he was always, he was difficult, you know, and he didn't like or love many people. But he did seem to love me all the time. And that was really, really a gift. Huh?
Kathleen, you were a sexy Martha, and I didn't think Liz Taylor. Well, you took two Liz Taylor roles and you kind of transformed them in a way.
Well, that was easy to do. I mean, look at the woman's voice, for God's sake. It was appalling. She had terrible, terrible voice. And besides, that film, which was a butchery, um, didn't even follow the play. You know, in the play, George pours himself a drink at the beginning, at the top when they come in, and that's it. He nurses it. George is never drunk. And the film, it was just these two drunks screaming at each other. And I remember hearing somebody out on the street say, "Yeah, well, I could go home if I want that," you know. And I thought, oh, no, no, no. And of course, by the time the reviews came in, they were saying, you know, my only complaint was the intermissions. Could we do without them? I'm like, no, we can't. Yeah.
No, you needed to catch your breath, especially for that
Oh.
play. Yeah. And the last play I saw you in was High, and it was another work about faith, and it was rather extraordinary. You played a nun in that.
A recovering alcoholic nun.
Yeah.
Working with addicts, you know,
Yeah.
In a community center. It was it was fascinating to be part of the whole writing process in a way deeper than I think I'd ever really been. And it was necessary because the playwright, Matthew Lombardo, was himself a meth addict, is, I guess. Any case, so we had to really keep it tight. watch on it. But Evan Jonikite was
Mm,
brilliant to
yeah.
work with, you know. And again, that wonderful mystery at the end when, you know, she says, well, what do I want? I want to be high.
Mm,
You don't know if she means back on the alcohol or faith.
yeah.
Could be one, could be both. And I like that. I don't like to give people nice little packages with answers. You know, I like to make them figure it out.
Yeah. 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 Leave it ambiguous. Absolutely. I just have a couple very wrapping questions. What are you doing next?
Well, I'm doing some great stuff. Okay. I am I am teaching now down at the University of Virginia. The last week of each month, I go down to work with the MFA students. And I've always taught, you know, master classes and everything. But I've never really sort of been part of the whole academic world. I've
Yeah.
always been outside as usual. There I go again. Um, but it's most interesting to me. It's really, I think I might go deeper into academia.
Hmm.
So I'm enjoying that. I'm doing my own show, Finding My Voice again. That keeps growing and changing. And I'm doing that. I've got two shows, one in Brooklyn, one in northern New Jersey, in the beginning of October before the vote.
Oh,
So we'll be airing all my political views, believe me.
nice.
Um, and then one a little later, and then a couple later down in Virginia. So that's a project that just keeps flexing. And you know, I have a new experience, I have a new story to tell. And so then I have to take out that story and put in this one and add this song. And nobody knows I sing, you see.
Yep.
So that's always a nice surprise. And then I have another film I'm shooting in December in New Mexico, and in January, the HBO series White House Plumbers comes out.
Well, Kathleen, I look forward to seeing so much more from you, and I thank you for taking the time out. It's been an absolute joy speaking with you.
Thank you. You really did a deep dive here, babe.
I tried.
Okay.